Minister launching a diplomatic surgical strike on Pakistan's Foreign Minister Bilawal Bhutto Zardari, calling him a promoter, justifier and spokesperson of Pakistan's terror industry. Dr. S. Jaishankar was speaking to journalists after the Shanghai Cooperation Organization foreign ministers meet at Goa. He said Pakistan's credibility is depleting faster than Pakistan's foreign exchange reserves. This stinging attack on Pakistan, state-sponsored radical Islamist terror, came amidst reports of 5 brave soldiers of the Indian Army making the supreme sacrifice of their lives in an anti-terrorist operation in the Rajouri area, the forests of Rajouri in Jammu and Kashmir early this morning. That anti-terror operation is still underway. Dr. S. Jaishankar said a victim of terror and the perpetrators of terror do not sit together, in response to a question on resumption of dialogue with Pakistan. He actually hit out at Pakistan's hypocrisy and doublespeak on terror. The External Affairs Minister also hit out at the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, saying connectivity is good, but connectivity cannot be an excuse to violate the territorial integrity of a country. And this is where China-Pakistan Economic Corridor passes through Gilgit-Baltistan, Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, that is originally and actually an integral part of India. But before I get you much more on this big diplomatic surgical strike, let's first listen in to Dr. S. Jaishankar, India's External Affairs Minister.
As a foreign minister of an SCO member state, Mr. Butto Zardari was treated accordingly. As a promoter, justifier, and I'm sorry to say spokesperson of a terrorism industry, which is the mainstay of Pakistan, his positions were called out and they were countered, including at the SCO meeting itself. So let me come to the specifics. On the China-Pakistan economic corridor, this so-called corridor, I think it was made very clear, not once but twice in the SCO meeting, that connectivity is good for progress. But connectivity cannot violate the territorial integrity and sovereignty of states. So this has been our long-standing position. Nobody should have any doubt about it. And I assure you, those who are in the room today had no doubt about it. I made sure of that. Regarding आपका दूसरा जो था वो G20 के बारे में था. Now, you know, I don't think there is a G20 issue to debate with anybody. Certainly not with a country which is nothing to do with the G20. I mean, Jammu and Kashmir was, is, will always be a part of India. And the G20 meetings are held in all the Indian states and union territories, so it is completely natural that it is held there. जो आपका जो दूसरा सवाल जो था कि from what I understood that India and Pakistan should sit together. You know, victims of terrorism do not sit together with perpetrators of terrorism to discuss terrorism. Victims of terrorism defend themselves, counter acts of terrorism, they call it out, they delegitimize it, and that is exactly what is happening. So to come here and preach these hypocritical words as though we are on the same boat, I mean, they are committing acts of terrorism. And, you know, I don't want to jump the gun on what happened today, but I think we're all feeling equally outraged. So, I think, I mean, let's be very, very clear on this. You know, on this matter, the terrorism matter, I mean, I would say Pakistan's credibility is depleting even faster than its forex reserves. So you know, let's be clear what this is about. On your question is this a breakthrough? Look, he came here as a member, a foreign minister of an SCO member state. That is part of multilateral diplomacy. Please do not see it as anything more than that. It was not meant as anything more than that. It was not treated as anything more than that. And I think nothing that from what he said or what I heard he said deserves for this to be treated more than that. China-Pakistan economic corridor, this so-called corridor. I think it was made very clear, not once but twice in the SCO meeting, that connectivity is good for progress, but connectivity cannot violate the territorial integrity and sovereignty of states. So this has been our long-standing position. Nobody should have any doubt about it. And I assure you, those who are in the room today had no doubt about it. I made sure of that. देखिए, I said, उनका कोई G20 से लेना देना नहीं है. I will also say, उनका कोई श्रीनगर से भी लेना देना नहीं है. There is only one issue to discuss on Kashmir, which is when does Pakistan vacate its illegal occupation of Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. That is the only issue up for discussion.
Facts stated by Dr. S. Jaishankar the way they are meant to be stated. Pakistan has nothing to do with Jammu and Kashmir except vacate Pakistan occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Incidentally, that includes Gilgit and Baltistan. Something that should have been said every day from 15th of August 1947 is actually being said in 2023 in as many words. I want to bring in India Today's Foreign Affairs editor Geeta Mohan for more on this. I also have Lieutenant General Sanjay Meston joining us on the broadcast. He's been a former defense attaché in Afghanistan. General Meston is also someone who keeps a hawk eye on developments in Jammu and Kashmir. There's been a terror attack in Rajouri. We'll talk to him about that. But Geeta, coming to you first, this is virtually a diplomatic surgical strike that has been launched on Bilawal Bhutto Zardari and the country he represents.
Well, absolutely. We've not heard Dr. Jaishankar speak on Pakistan, specifically on the foreign minister, the manner in which he's spoken now. Again, Gaurav, it comes just after the statements that he made with regards to Prime Minister of India in New York. So while there was a lot of conversation about can there be forward movement, is there going to be a handshake, there was an off-camera handshake, not on camera, body language spoke for itself, but what Dr. Jaishankar did this evening, right now, clearly set the tone and tenor and where India stands, India's position on Pakistan. That talks and terror cannot go together is a thing of the past now. It's gone beyond that. India is not going to engage a country that has a foreign minister for spokesperson of terror factories and terror organizations is something that now Pakistan will have to look at and maybe introspect, but certainly very, very strong, harsh and extreme in terms of how India is viewing Pakistan, but in terms of how India looks at what is happening with Pakistan and from Pakistan is absolutely clear over here, Gaurav.
You know, so all that talk about the handshake and the body language and whether there is an icebreaker or a thaw, it's very clear. How can there be a thaw when Pakistan General Meston has taken absolutely no action against Hafiz Muhammad Saeed for 26/11 Mumbai terror attacks, that Maulana of terror Masood Azhar for the parliament attack, for Pulwama, for Pathankot, and Dawood Ibrahim Kaskar, who's living in Clifton, Karachi, barely a stone throw from Bilawal Bhutto Zardari's house in Karachi. Dawood Ibrahim Kaskar, and Pakistan takes no action. But General, my bigger question to you is, a terror strike where we've lost 5 braves, including some from our special forces in Rajouri, is the timing very curious? Recently Pakistan Army Chief visited the LC. There's a div commander who's a radical Islamist who's come on the other side, and the terror strike, General.
Gaurav, good evening. Obviously, the linkage is there. There is no doubt, even before the SCO. And also, we are now going to host the G20. Before that, there was a Rajouri strike, and today again they have done another strike. So there is a total linkage, and this has happened when their foreign minister is on our soil. So therefore, the Pakistan, their foreign policy is absolutely state-sponsored terrorism. There is just no doubt on that, and they're doing it largely with two countries. One is, of course, with Afghanistan. There they have been totally successful. They have been able to place their proxies, the Taliban there earlier also, and now again they have got them back. And they have tried to destabilize India by bringing in the Kashmir issue, doing cross-border terrorism, and also now in Punjab, drugs and everything. So their agenda is very, very clear. Destabilize the western borders of India. They have already destabilized Pakistan, so that the main issue, which I just highlighted other day also, the Durand line, is just, forgotten. That's gone in cold storage. And I'm very glad. Yesterday only I mentioned in your channel very, very aptly, and I think same thing the foreign minister has reiterated today, that Pakistan needs to vacate the Pakistan-occupied Kashmir and Gilgit-Baltistan. That should be a priority one. There is no denying of the fact.
General, stay with me. I want to bring in my colleague Shiv Arur for more on this. Shiv, this is absolute plain speak. This actually is one rocket after the other. It's almost like a multi-barrel rocket launcher hitting the target, and each rocket hits Pakistan bang on and exposes the terror state and its foreign minister.
And it doesn't just, hit Pakistan. It's also 100% the unadulterated truth about Pakistan. Bilawal Bhutto might have a swagger. He's got this big smile on his face all the time, which kind of betrays his lack of experience in being a foreign minister. But, to be called a promoter of terror, a sponsor of terror, someone who keeps playing victim, someone who needs to wake up to the reality of the abrogation of Article 370, goes beyond the realms of the usual Jaishankar style plain speak, that we've been used to for the last couple of years, Gaurav. Because I think as far as the SCO is concerned, Pakistan tried to, through Bilawal Bhutto, tried to make it seem like, oh, we're only here because it's the SCO. This has nothing to do with India. All of the people in the SCO are our friends. We're here for all the multilateral glory that Pakistan will get. Not for a moment acknowledging, that Pakistan is the world's biggest sponsor of terror. Even in his interview to us, he tried to prevaricate. He sipped water 10 times. Yeah. He refused to acknowledge Pakistan's role and the world's perception of Pakistan as a global sponsor of terror. He tried to sidestep and escape, when we questioned him about Dawood Ibrahim. He had zero to say, just the usual, Oxford-style fulminations about, things like, witnesses required as far as 2611 is concerned. So for someone as inexperienced as Bilawal Bhutto to imagine that he could have had some kind of an effect on India, I think has been put very ably to rest by Dr. Jaishankar, yes, who has obviously minced no words in calling him a promoter and a sponsor of terror. Oh, and for someone who's an intern, someone who has a reputation of being an intern in his own ministry, I think this day is not going to be one of his favorites going forward.
Clearly. And Geeta, on that issue of G20, Dr. Jaishankar made it very clear. Jammu and Kashmir was, is and will remain an integral part of India, and G20 sessions will happen in every part of India. Only issue to discuss with Pakistan is vacation of POJK, including Gilgit and Baltistan. Again, Pakistan and China called out on CPEC, Geeta.
Well, absolutely, Gaurav. He not only very clearly and firmly has informed in many words than one Pakistan that G20 meetings are going to be held in Srinagar, and not just Srinagar or Kashmir, that there needs to be a realization within Pakistan on when will they answer as to when are they going to vacate the occupied territories. Now that again is significant, like Shiv was just saying. It was an extensive interview to India Today where Bilawal Bhutto Zardari did mention this, and to a question on whether if he keeps harping on the United Nations Security Council resolution, will Pakistan withdraw troops from Pakistan occupied Jammu and Kashmir, he did say that, well, they are going to adhere to all of the clauses of the resolution, which means he himself will have a lot of answering to do back home. I do not know whether he had the clearances from the establishment to actually make that commitment. Having said that, the Indian side has made it very clear to Pakistan that there is a reason why the G20 presidency and the way India is projecting all its states is important, and Jammu and Kashmir being an integral part of India cannot be missed when it comes to planning and preparing for the G20 and the meetings being held across the length and breadth of the country, including Jammu and Kashmir.
What's extremely interesting also, and a word of caution here, Geeta and Shiv, stay with me, General Meston. We've already had a number of terror strikes, but all south of Pir Panjal, which would indicate that Pakistan is also carefully calibrating what India is doing in Jammu and Kashmir. But the fact that a G20 meet will happen in Jammu and Kashmir and in Kashmir, could Pakistan escalate? And is there a real threat? Because we are the presidents, India has the presidency of G20 this year, India has the presidency of SCO this year, and Pakistan would want Kashmir to remain in global headlines, General.
No doubts, Gaurav. I had already mentioned sometimes back that the terrorism activities by Pakistan will substantially increase in J&K, and of course, very rightfully, it is south of Pir Panjal. Not only that, even China is now going to be having more of so-called, border incursions. We have had a few examples, so I visualize even that way. Coming on to one point, if I can highlight, coming on to SCO, I must highlight that as a colonel, I was the first Indian officer as a military leader, as a delegation leader, to go to China to attend the first peacekeeping exercise in 2005. And if you see the goals and charters of the SCO, the first three paragraphs by and large talk about the security concerns to the SCO member states.
Yes.
And in that, it talks about few very important aspects. One is, terrorism, separatism and extremism needs to be addressed on top priority, and multilateralism to maintain security, peace and stability in the SAARC countries. Now, why I'm talking about this very important aspect.
Yes.
When this exercise was done, the entire setting of the exercise, the troops were only from Russia and China, was exactly on this, that a military intervention was done in a state. This exercise was done in Shandong Peninsula of China. And the narrative was, the important aspect is, the narrative was that military intervention in a state which has been besieged by terrorists.
Okay.
What I'm trying to link up is, you look at Afghanistan.
No, you're absolutely right. And Afghanistan is one issue we will talk about. But Shiv, last 30 seconds that I have on this part of the show, very, very critical for India to ensure supremacy at the LAC. And General, if I may, we need to ensure supremacy at the LOC, at the LAC and in the hinterland, given July is the SCO summit and September is the G20 summit. General
you're asking me?
Yes, last 30 seconds.
Yeah, absolutely, very right. And therefore, I can now just finish that previous point. Today, terrorism or the Taliban is sitting in Afghanistan. Why the SCO member states are not, especially China and Russia and Pakistan? Why is the Chinese foreign minister today going to, he'll be going now to Islamabad and having a trilateral with Pakistan and Afghanistan?
Yes.
On one, they are recognizing that means the terrorism. And on one hand, the
and this is why External Affairs Minister was very right in calling out, exposing Pakistan as a state sponsor of terror. I've run out of time on this part of the show, but this is a story we'll be tracking very, very closely. Geeta Mohan, General Meston and Shiv Arur for joining me here on this India First special. Many thanks. A quick break. News and updates continue on India Today as we continue to expose Pakistan as a state sponsor of terror, a promoter, justifier and spokesperson of the terror industry whose credibility is depleting faster than its foreign exchange reserves. News and updates continue on India Today. Stay with us.
You are watching India Today.
What's your longer term strategy on Europe, and is there a trade-off versus focusing more on India and expanding here?
So, Siddharth, the situation in Europe needs to be understood, in a slightly more detailed level, right? You have the Dutch assets, operations in Netherlands, which is 70% of our European footprint, is a pretty strong asset. It has always been cash positive, EBITDA positive, and does not require any support from India. So they can run on their own. Okay, so we are less concerned about that. We've had a couple of bad quarters. We will have one more bad quarter simply because there's a blast furnace relining which is going on there. In Q3, Q4, we were hit by higher energy costs, etc. So, but we are not, worried about the structural, strength of the Dutch operation. It's a sustainable business. It can run on its own. It can transform. The challenge is UK, which is 30% of our footprint there. That's not cash positive. More often than not, it's cash negative. More often than not, it's EBITDA negative. And many of the facilities there, particularly in the upstream, are reaching the end of life. So the clock is ticking on that one. So that's a call we'll have to take during this year or latest by next year. During this year and next year, those assets will come to end of life. And if there is not enough support from the government, we cannot transition to a new process route. The cash flows from the business don't support any more investments than we've made already there. So that's the challenge. To go back to your fundamental question, does this impact our growth in India? The answer is no, because like I said, the growth in India is taken care of by the cash flows in India, which are very strong. And like I said, if the Dutch assets don't need our support, and it's just the UK assets, which is 3 million out of 32 million, it's not as material as it was 10 years back, when it was 10 million out of 25 million.
Weather forecast now. Delhi, maximum 36 and minimum 23 degrees. Mumbai, maximum 31 and minimum 27 degrees. Kolkata, maximum 38 and minimum 24 degrees. Bangalore, maximum 28 and minimum 23 degrees. Chennai, maximum 32 and minimum 27 degrees. Hyderabad, maximum 33 and minimum 24 degrees.
Sanya Malhotra, an outsider whose love for dancing is known to all. Someone who dreamt of becoming an actor and has achieved it.
कट जब से ये खबर मिली है ससुरी जबान ही लड़खड़ा रही है।
वारदात कहाँ हुई है सर?
2 चमचमाते शानदार कटहल चोरी है गए।
सर ऐसे तो मुश्किल हो जाएगी, कल को लोग कुमड़ा लौकी तो रही की रिपोर्ट लिखवाने आ जाएंगे।
She carved a niche for herself even though she's only a few films old. The actress is gearing up for her upcoming Netflix comedy drama Kathal. Backed by Guneet Monga, the film is based on true-ish events, how a politician loses jackfruit and the police force is assigned to find the missing vegetable. Sanya plays the cop for the very first time in this Yashovardhan Mishra directorial. The Delhi University girl, however, entered the world of showbiz with a blockbuster hit alongside Aamir Khan in Dangal.
क्यों मारा? मैंने ना मारा था।
जितना बबीता ने मारा है।
She made a mark for herself. Sanya underwent a physical transformation and extensive training to ace the role of a wrestler. Post Dangal, she starred in Pataka alongside Radhika Madan. The two actresses essayed the role of sisters who cannot stand each other but are a total mess when separated. Pataka also starred Sunil Grover.
मम्मी प्रेग्नेंट है मेरी।
मम्मी मतलब तेरी मम्मी?
ये तो क्या तेरी मम्मी?
She's what? She then went on to be a part of one of the most progressive movies of this generation, Badhai Ho, alongside Ayushmann Khurrana.
मम्मी प्रेग्नेंट होती ना, फिर देखता मैं।
मेरी मम्मी प्रेग्नेंट होती तो और भी बड़ी प्रॉब्लम होती यार।
देखा?
पापा नहीं है ना मेरे।
आज का दिन फोटो में।
Sanya then featured in Photograph, a romantic drama that followed the story of Rafi, a photographer, essayed by Nawazuddin Siddiqui and Miloni.
मुझे ये फोटो क्यों दी?
बस एक बार अगर आप मिल लेती तो
presented by RP Sanjeev Goenka Group, Growing Legacies. Co-presented by Macho Hint, Bade Aaram Se. Co-powered by Timex, Choice of the Titans. XP100, India's first 100-octane premium petrol.
Hello and welcome. You're watching the news track. I'm Rahul Kamal. On the show tonight, can the Bajrang Dal, Bajrang Bali issue be the game changer the BJP has been waiting for? Can it turn the course of the Karnataka elections, or has this opportunity come too late in the campaign for it to make a big difference to the end outcome? That's what we're looking at with data, with analysis on the news track tonight.
Bajrang Bali ki बजरंग बली की
कर्नाटका पोल्स बजरंग बली भरोसे।